Are you ready for the ultimate business-to-business sales pitch? I don't think you are, because it's not what you think. I'm going to reveal how you can blow away the CEO of your next great client, and you're going to get that information today on the Dave Lorenzo Daily. Today's episode is about the ultimate business-to-business sales pitch. I will tell you point blank, you start at the top. Focus on the problems that the owner of the business has. Focus on the problems that the CEO of the business has. Now, you may be thinking, all right, Dave, that's great. I sell widgets to Joe Smith in procurement. The CEO is not going to talk to me. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the reason why the CEO will talk to you. And if the CEO doesn't talk to you, he will put you in touch with the right person who can help purchase your services. This is magic. Now, I'll tell you how to do it in publicly traded companies first. And then after we do publicly traded companies, we can talk about private companies or local targets. First of all, everyone thinks that publicly traded companies are more difficult to break through to the decision maker than private companies. Not true at all. Publicly traded companies are easy. Why? Because the issues, the concerns are exposed to everyone. A publicly traded company has to report what's going on in their business in what's called a 10K. That is a statement that they file with the Securities and Exchange Commission here in the United States. So when you do research on a public company, look for the last quarterly 10K. It's going to have a bunch of financial information, and then there will be a narrative in there. There'll be some stuff that the chief financial officer writes and signs off on, and there'll be some stuff that the CEO writes and signs off on. After they release the 10K, they do what's called an earnings call or an analyst call. This is where they announce what happened with their earnings on a quarterly basis, and they also take questions from the industry analysts. Usually it is the compliance officer or the chief communications officer or the corporate communications officer who does these calls. But the CEO is always on the line for at least part of the call to talk about what's going on in the future. Sometimes it might be the chief financial officer. These calls are valuable because you'll get some insight into what the analysts are thinking about the company, and they'll ask the CEO or the chief financial officer questions about the future. Then you can dig into the reports the analysts write. Now, stock analysts who follow publicly traded companies do a significant amount of research. They do a lot of what's called due diligence on the company because they have to recommend whether people buy the stock, sell the stock, or just hold the stock. Reading the analyst reports will help you understand what challenges the companies face, and listening to the questions the analysts asks will help you understand what's going on in the company. These are the things that the CEO is concerned about. These are the things that the CEO is making his priority. I want you to know those issues inside and out. Here's the reason why. You're going to start a letter writing campaign, an email campaign, and if you want to, a phone call campaign to the CEO to tell him that you can help him solve some of these problems. Now, your solution may not involve your direct services. Your solution may involve introducing him to somebody else or introducing his company to somebody else. I want you to bombard the CEO over and over and over again with information about how you can help him by making an introduction, by providing a service, providing a product. Here's what will happen. That mail is not going to get through to him right away. It's going to go to his assistant. And when you follow up after sending the letter, you're going to follow up with his assistant or with someone who he has assigned to open the mail. And you're going to talk about how you can help. You're not going to talk about selling products. You're not going to talk about selling services. You're talking about how you can help by offering solutions. The other thing you're going to send with these letters, you're going to send testimonials from people in the industry who know this gentleman, who know this person. You can also send email links to videos of you giving speeches where you're solving these exact problems. You're going to tell them who you're going to introduce them to solve the problems. Eventually, if you're persistent enough, you will be put in touch with the exact person who can authorize a purchase of your product or your service, because that will be the person who solves this problem. You're going to deliver value first, and the CEO's office will push you down to the right person. I will tell you point blank that in 10 to 20% of the cases, you will get an answer or a reply directly from the COO, the CEO, or the CFO, the C-level executive who you're targeting. 10 to 20% of the cases. This is phenomenal. When this happens, that's your opportunity to talk about the value you provide. No one appreciates offering real solutions and persistence more than the chief executive or a C-level executive of a company. Even though he or she may push you down to somebody else, they appreciate that you're offering solutions and they appreciate your persistence. Usually what happens is the chief executive will say, "Dear John," in his company, 3 levels down, "see if Dave Lorenzo has something we can use," and send it to John. That is going to get all kinds of attention in that company. John is going to be all over it then, because he's going to think the chief executive wants to work with you. He's going to think the chief executive has something in mind that you can provide. And that's what you're looking for. So, once again, how you can create the ultimate business-to-business sales pitch. I want you to do deep research on this publicly traded company by reading their 10Ks. That's the form they file with the Securities and Exchange Commission each quarter. Then I want you to read all the analyst reports on them to see what their challenges are, what their major problems are, what their major issues are. Then I want you to begin a letter writing campaign, 1 letter a month, 1 email a month on alternating weeks, every other week, a letter and an email about how you can solve problems that are listed in the 10K for the CEO directly. A letter, an email, a letter, an email, and then the third week, a phone call, letter, email, phone call. The phone call is going to go to the CEO's office. You're going to speak to the assistant, and you're going to talk about how you can introduce the CEO, the COO, the CFO, whoever, to someone who can solve their problem. Then eventually, you will get pushed down to the right person. When you get pushed down to the right person, you will go in and you can make your pitch. But you will be pitching from a position of strength because you have a solution and the person you're pitching to was told to meet with you by the CEO. That's how you do it in a publicly traded company. Now, what happens if it's a private company? What do you do if it's a private company? Well, you follow a different pattern. What you do is you look for press reports that identify what's going on in that company, and usually the press reports will talk about things that have made them successful. And you can go in and then offer to connect them with other people who are just like the people who they're selling to, or you can go in and offer to deliver a deal just like the deal they just did. Or more likely, the third thing you can do in this instance is go through LinkedIn and see who the CEO of that private company is connected to on LinkedIn, and tell the person on LinkedIn you'd like to connect with the CEO because you have some value you can provide. Your mutual connections will be able to introduce you to the CEO, or maybe they can pass along something to the CEO or give you some competitive intelligence to help you with your pitch to the CEO. Private companies are a little bit more difficult because they don't have the same stringent reporting requirements, but LinkedIn reporters who do stories on people who are the leaders of private companies are great assets in this regard. And then the third and final asset would be the bankers. You need to have a network of bankers always at your disposal, a network of people who you've referred business to who can potentially help introduce you to people in the community who are the C-level executives of private companies. Bankers are fantastic opportunities to connect with people. So make sure you're delivering referrals to bankers all day long, because bankers can introduce you to people who are C-level executives in private companies, and you'll be able to make your pitch that way. All right, so for publicly traded companies, you know what to do. Now for privately traded companies, you know what to do. The bottom line on this is start at the top. You're always pitching C-level executives with solutions to their problems, not with stuff that you have to offer. You're pitching C-level executives, start at the top with solutions to their problems. Do your due diligence, do your homework, find out what their problems are, pitch them on solutions, and that's how you make the ultimate business-to-business sales pitch. We deliver great information just like this every day on the Dave Lorenzo Daily. I'm looking forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow, where you'll get another fantastic business-to-business sales strategy. I'm Dave Lorenzo, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, I hope you do this and sell more.